Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Wild Moments. My name is Ben Coley. I have the delightful Kelly Oldacre with me today. And we, along with your help, will be having a look at a couple of amazing clips that we have captured on our various cameras around the continent. How are you doing, Kelly? Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, Ben. I am on top form. Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be back. Always good to see some of these fabulous clips that we get to share with everyone here on Wild Moments. I'm seeing we're already getting Zygote. Hi, Ben, Coley, and Kelly. Namaste. Hi, Zygote. Karu. Hi, Ben and Kelly. Hi, Karu. I'm sure we will get updates of what everyone has been supping on as we progress.
Absolutely. Well, we're very much looking forward to today. I know it's always exciting to see what these cameras do pick up. And we can go out and drive around the bush and walk around the bush for hours and hours on end, but so much happens that we are unaware of. And I think I'm sure you'd agree, Kelly, it's pretty amazing to see some of the incredible stuff that these cameras pick up. So I think very shortly we'll embark on the first clip, but I see we've had a couple more comments coming in. Aussie Jan, good afternoon to you. You're on your coffee break. I imagine many of you probably are as well. Uh, ah, as Kelly is displaying, I am not. As an Englishman, I will be on the tea, of course. But Kelly, unless there's anything else you want to add, I suggest, shall we just crack on and have a look at the first clip and welcome any questions and comments that come our way?
Let's dive straight in.
Brilliant. Let's have a look at the first clip. A little warthog
I love
crawling around. I believe this is up at Victoria Falls Safari Lodge. Maybe a
Oh,
little
Jacana.
jacana. Actually, could be a lesser jacana there. Need a closer look. Love the way that they scuffle around on those padded wrist joints that they've got.
It seems funny seeing them walk like it. I know they often feed like it, but I've normally see them sort of stand back up again when they're. I wonder why he's moving around, kneeling down like that. Maybe he
Yeah,
was
also
sniffing
don't
something to
often
the
see
ground.
them. Well, he's about to walk into a crocodile, so I hope he's paying attention. It is a male. Everybody getting quite close to the croc with the jacana there. I think he's very much aware that the croc is there now. He's having, I think I agree with you. It looks like he's having a good sniff of something. Maybe he's sniffed the crocodile and double checking exactly what's happening.
It seems funny seeing them walk long term though on those knees. I normally see them sort of stop and mooch and then they
Hmm.
stand up again. But yeah, maybe he's getting that fabulous nose a bit closer to the floor.
That's just strange. If, so close to the crocodile, he must know the crocodile is there. He's coming in for a proper look. But I would agree, if he needs to move quickly, being on his haunches there is not ideal.
Oh, I'm quite tense. What's he doing? He must know it's a crocodile.
How very strange. This is what we mean before. You never quite know what you're going to see. Animals do the strangest things sometimes. You'd think the warthog would be naturally wary. I mean, it's about a foot away from it. Maybe he's trying to bury the crocodile.
See, I've got no idea what this warthog's thinking. I mean, surely they must know what a crocodile smells like. They'd be able to tell that there was. Well, we don't really know though, do we? Maybe it's. Oh, there we go.
Well, if you
That's
didn't
the
know it was
answer
a
to
crocodile,
that. He soon worked it out. That's brilliant.
yeah, but very strange. I would have thought if he was very much aware that the crocodile was there, that he wouldn't have been wandering around on his wrists there because he's not going to be able to make a particularly quick getaway. Although, as we saw, he was able to. But whether he was so distracted with an interesting smell of a female there, perhaps. But yeah, he can't have been more than what 30, 40 centimeters away from that croc.
It makes you wonder, but it also I'm just having a look at these. Who else is here with us today? Mr. HUAE87. Hi to all. Dean NC. Good morning. Slightly smiley face. Slightly smiley face. Why just slightly smiley? I've got my coffee and I'm excited for the show. Andy, hello, Kelly and Ben. 90 degrees with 80% humidity in Florida, and it's only 10 o'clock. Oh, that's warm. Jane Powers, hello everyone, and Karu Cape Glassy Starling flew by. Good spotting. Well done, Karu. I missed that one.
Yeah, I was too busy watching. I don't suppose you could call it strange. I mean, warthogs, you do see them waff, paddling around on those wrists and particularly sort of tossing up the dirt to get to the
Hmm.
grass roots. But what would be there right next to the water, I'm not sure. I think I agree with you that there must have been a really interesting smell that warranted staying very close to the ground with the nose and doing that strange walk. But whether or not he was aware the crocodile is there, I mean, I don't know how much of a smell crocodiles give off. They're such good ambush hunters, maybe they don't give off
That's
much
what
of a
I was
smell, and he
thinking. I
didn't
was
really.
saying, I thought he must know it's there, but then my brain went, well, no, they're ambush hunters. If they had a really strong smell, they wouldn't be able to ambush. So maybe that's exactly he knew there was something going on, and he was trying to work out what it was by flicking sand. But who knows?
Yeah, I think, as you said, I think he probably had a smell. He was following a scent of something, and then was, I can only assume, sort of rooting around to try and get more of the scent, whatever it was. And inadvertently, the crocodile decided he'd had enough of being showered with some mud at the side of the waterhole, and yeah, the warthog realised pretty quickly what was going on. But how amazing is to see how quick that reaction was. It just goes to show that even something as, how do I put it, I'll say as lumpy as a warthog can actually, those muscles are so highly strung that it needs be, it can turn on a dime and escape.
You can't call warthogs lumpy. That's outrageous. I see Mindy Tillipal also agrees. First time seeing them walking like that. Amber CO, happy Thursday to all, and thank you, thank you. Oh, grumpy old man, hello. Crouching pig, hidden dragon.
Very true.
Grumpy old man,
But
yes,
then if you
that
see
is
them feeding,
but
so I just
they
say,
sort of go in
I'm
little sort of
thinking about that.
circles. They don't go
They
over
do, but
there
they
like
do
it, do
still sort of
they?
feed around on those risks whilst feeding. But yeah, to actually be going from point A to point B on them, I don't think I've ever seen one, as you said, walking like that before. Strange.
Hmm. Who knows?
No, who knows indeed. But yeah, I guess we'll never know, and that's the whole fun of all of this, isn't it? But not somewhere I'd want to find myself that close to a crocodile. But yeah, you never know what's lying in the shallows there, and they can keep so still. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to go and do some checking up on if they do have a scent. I mean, lions we know do have a really strong smell, and other animals can pick up that scent from kilometers away, but probably not for crocodiles. The more I think about it.
No, maybe not.
All right, well, that was a very interesting start. Well, we've got another few clips hopefully to show you. So I think we're going to have a look at another one now from Simbavati in the Sabi Sands with a heron. Oh, grey heron with a large fish of some description, catfish.
It,
That's
well, I
quite.
was just trying to work out, and I worked it out. But that catfish was skewered onto that beak there. That would freak me out. Like actually, he had to sort of flick that fish off his face.
Well, they often do use that razor sharp beak like a sort of a stabbing weapon, but evidently the fish decided it wanted to get back to water. Yeah, again, look at that, sort of skewered it with the bottom mandible at least.
Where do you
That's
think
a
you're
good
going?
meal for a heron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving him a rinse.
Mm.
No one likes a sandy catfish.
Bit of catch and release, but it doesn't look like that catfish is moving anymore. I think it may have succumbed. But they do have quite a lot of sort of mucus on them, so Perhaps that's what, as you said, what he was doing, just giving it a bit of a wash.
Oh, oh, oh.
Oh,
These clips are brilliant. How rude.
well, that's another catfish that's come in and stolen the heron's catfish. The heron, you can just think of the disdain. What
Heron's
on earth is going on?
just standing there, like incredulous. How dare you? He's not even trying to get it back or. I'd just pick
And
it up and
decided,
walk
no, it's
off with it
too late.
again.
Here comes
Oh,
another one.
look, there's another one.
Feeding frenzy.
Oh no, oh no.
What we got to do?
Heron's backing away from
Yeah,
that.
don't like that.
No, I'm off.
Well, that's pretty weird. I mean, catfish do have a very varied diet. They are omnivorous and they do feed on carrion and things. And I suppose a dead other catfish is a perfectly good piece of food, but I don't think I've ever heard of one stealing one off a bird. You do get what we call kleptoparasitism with animals stealing kills off other animals, but I don't think I've ever heard or seen of a catfish stealing a fish off a heron, let alone one of its own species. But opportunism at its
Hmm.
best, I suppose.
Sounds like it absolutely happens. I see Teddy Lad Lulu. Good afternoon from a miserable, cold, wet Cheshire, UK. We know the feeling. And Bridget McKinney, hi Ben and Kelly, hi Bridget, thanks for checking in.
Hey, Bridget. Yeah, but very interesting to see. I mean, catfish is one of those things we all learn about as guides. It's the classic part of the aquatic food chain, and they eat the tilapia, and the crocodiles eat the catfish, and how they all sort of work together to stabilize that ecosystem in there. But I've never really given a great deal of thought to what catfish eat. We know about their interesting habits of gulping air and their abilities to sort of bury down into the mud and survive really dry times. But I've never considered one eating another one, but they are scavenging animals, and I suppose out there you never know when your next meal is going to come from, and if you can get one off a grey heron, then why not?
I think I'm more stunned by the fact that the heron just stood there. He's put a lot of effort into that fish. He caught it and then he took it over there and stabbed it a bit and it flipped around and he carried it back and he just gave it up. He didn't even the fish are fighting back, Karu. But the heron just sort of stood there and let it happen. I think that's a little bit defeatist.
Well, so I think just a bit like us, we were a bit probably shocked about what was going on
Yeah,
and didn't
maybe.
expect it to happen. You could see where the second one came in and there was a bit of splashing around. You could almost see he was like, "Oh, no, I'm not sure about this, and I'm going to go over here a little bit." But I suppose anything unusual like that that doesn't happen regularly is intrinsically a little bit scary, and rather avoid it if you're not sure. But yeah, very
Yeah.
strange.
Shell H, good morning all. New here, that was fascinating. Hello, welcome. Please do call again. It's lovely to have you here, Shell H. And Grumpy Old Man says cannibal catfish. Um, Absolutely. So many things in nature. It seems obviously seems brutal to us, um, but you got to eat. And there's so many instances of cannibalism out here in nature, and clearly it happens in catfish as well.
Yeah, something new for the memory banks. Again, unusual stuff. Usually that sort of thing, again, happening in the dead of night with nobody around. And that's
Mm.
why these cameras are so special. But I shall have to take more of an interest in catfish. I'm not the biggest fisherman in the world. I've tried my hand at it. It doesn't really appeal particularly. And so we tell people about tilapias and catfish and all these other things that we believe to be under the waterholes. But the catfish is one of the ones that you do sometimes at least see, particularly when those areas are drying up. I'm sure you've seen it as well in Kruger and other reserves when there's almost no water left and it's just this sort of writhing mass of mud
Mm.
as all the catfish fighting for moisture there, and you can get hundreds and hundreds of birds coming down and just helping themselves. But yeah, first time I've seen a catfish help themselves.
No, for sure. I remember one of my first day at my first guiding job ever. Um, the waterholes were drying up, and there was catfish sort of trapped in a sort of. It wasn't small, but it was the wrong end of the waterhole. And my very first general manager, he said, we need to move those catfish because that water's drying up. And to this day, he said, I said, well, how are we going to do that? He said, well, it's not my problem. Um, and I think he was doing a check on my enthusiasm and ability to get stuck into a job. And I can confirm that catching catfish with your hands in a not even very wet muddy puddle is considerably harder than it looks. The waterhole was along the front of the tower waterhole that we see on here. There's guest rooms all the way around the edge of that waterhole. Guests were loving it. There was like 6 of us in there trying to catch these catfish. I think we got about 2 about that size in the space of about 4 hours. But I can confirm they're harder to catch than one might think.
Aren't they quite spiky in places as well? That you have to be a little bit careful
I
with them,
didn't
or not
notice them
so?
getting. I wasn't spiked, but we couldn't really get anywhere near any of them. So maybe they were, but yeah, we were sort of waist deep in sludge trying to relocate catfish with our hands. And I stayed there
I
for
can
quite a
imagine
while
trying to
after
catch
that.
a slimy catfish covered in slimy mud is probably not the easiest job. It's
It's
the
entertaining,
delightful and exciting life of a field guide, eh? Or a naturalist.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that was very interesting to see. Once again, slightly baffled by it, but who knows what you're going to see next? Well, I think our next clip has to do with some lions up in Rosie's Pan in Blue Lake, part of Greater Kruger. So let's go and see what the lions have been up to.
Trish,
Okay.
I'm also glad you made it for the last half of the show. Well done. You made it just in time for Lions. Welcome.
Yes, hello, Tris. I just love watching these lions and these infrared lights. It's so cool to be able to see them like this in the dark of night. The youngsters. So it also looks like a young female, not particularly filled out yet.
Oh, playing chase.
How wide those pupils are now in the darkness. You can see that reflection back from the tapetum lucidum at the back of the eye. You see how wide those pupils get in darkness.
The images on these cameras are amazing. Look at that, picking up even that reflection so nicely in the water.
You can argue there is a place for technology. Oh, shame, you've got a bad paw. Oh, dear.
It's so difficult watching them when they're sore. I find it really hard. And there's so often, people often ask why we don't help and all the rest of it. And it's really hard to watch, even, and I know you as well think the same, Ben. Even us, we've seen it many, many times before. It doesn't get easier to watch. I've watched many animals. I once watched a sick zebra for like a week. It's hard. Um, but it's nature, and I know people often they get upset, but it's nature. And that poor little cubby, I mean, it's not the first time I've seen an injured lion cub. Have you seen before, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some, as you said, some heart-wrenching things over the years. I've seen a mother eating her own cub because it died of starvation. I've seen another cub, well, she had 2 cubs. One died of starvation, and the mother ate that one in order to try and get some food for herself to feed the other cub, and then it's just horrific. But there's not much you can do about it. What can we do for that cub? All we can hope is that animals, and again, I'm sure you'd agree with this, have an amazing power of recovery. And even though it looks incredibly sore and didn't want to put any weight on it, we don't know whether it's broken. Is it a nasty sprain? Did it happen 5 minutes ago? Has it been like that for the last 2 weeks? It didn't look massively swollen, I didn't think, from what I
Yeah, I've
saw. I
just
don't know if we can
stepped
go
on a
back and
saw
have a look.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. It could have just been a thorn in the paw. Obviously, it's lagging behind the pride a little bit, which is a slight concern. But lions, to some extent, as long as, again, in my experience, and every pride is going to be different. And I know someone's going to be asking what happens if the cub falls too far behind. The pride is going to try and do its best to help that little one. But if it does get separated, and cannot be found, obviously, it's much more vulnerable to being predated upon by other lions or particularly hyenas or a leopard or something. But normally in a pride structure, particularly if an adult is injured, as long as the adult can keep up, then it'll still be able to feed and everything else. But there have certainly been lots of records that if a cub is really
Mm.
badly injured, that it will be abandoned by the mother. Again, it's
Mm.
horrible to think about, and I know we'll anthropomorphize it too much and say, "Oh, how could they possibly do that?" But it's benefit of the species, benefit of the family group, the pride as a whole,
And
as
her
opposed
gene
to the
pool,
individual.
gene pool of the individual. It's not she. It's no good that individual staying behind, risking also risking death, therefore eliminating their genes. It's just nature channels. Excited, it's real people. Yeah, we're real people, Shell. Well, real people talking about real drama. But yeah, it's difficult to watch. Often I've seen, well, we've all seen cubs do have a quite high mortality rate, and many prides that I've seen before haven't kept all their cubbies. They do they do lose some very frequently. So we must just cross our fingers.
Yeah, obviously we'll be able to keep an eye on that one. I'm sure, assuming that it does visit the camera again. I'm sure we'll get some updates on it. But as you said, we're seeing an individual there, but the mortality rates in lion cubs particularly is very high. I
Mm.
forget the official statistic, but it's only around about 15 or 20% of
Mm.
any lion cubs that actually reach maturity. And there's a reason for that as well. It is sort of an apex predator. And if you have too many apex predators, they will destroy the entire ecosystem. So whilst that, we don't know what happened to that one. As much as we'd love to, we can't have every single cub achieving adulthood because there just isn't enough space afforded to these animals anymore, and it would have a devastating impact and a knock-on effect on so many more members of that ecosystem. But as I say, they do have a very strong recovery power. I
Mm.
didn't see any open wounds. Uh, Even broken bones, I know in lions, particularly in the feet there that I've seen,
Mm.
have fused, have recovered. Even though they might walk uncomfortably, they might still be able to run. We've all done that. You had a dodgy ankle and we limp when we walk, but if we have to run, it's not too bad because there's not so much pressure being put for a long period of time on there. So let's hope that it isn't anything too serious, and that little one will be all right.
Mm. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, that was a little bit harrowing, horrible to see an animal in distress. But I think we've got one more clip that we can have a look at from the Savi Sands up in Coro, in the northern part of the Sands. Let's have a look and see what we've got there.
Oh, that's a big pile of buffalo. Oh, oh, is that a little dacre in front or a stimbook? It's a
No, I think that's a little daker. Just I'm going to
little
freeze
dacre.
and hope I'm not being noticed. It's a risky proposition to go piling into a big herd of buffalo like that, and not exactly got much cover there.
No, no, we can definitely see that lion. Oh, it's right at the lodge. It's right at her lodge there.
Yeah, right in front of the lodge.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh,
oh, I
oh,
think.
oh. It's amazing actually how this is so nice to see how many people are surprised when you explain that I've I've seen lions run from buffalo probably as much, if not more, than the other way around. To be honest, that's
Hmm. Looks like a young male. I don't know if it's two young males. I thought it might have been when we first saw them. And this, of course, is classic for
oh,
young males. If once they've been kicked out of their pride, They'll often have to go it alone until they're big enough and strong enough. These two are most likely brothers that have left their natal pride now, and they're not big enough and mature enough, as you can see. There's not the mane isn't fully developed for them to be able to hold their own territory, but they've got to eat. And I remember reading somewhere that an overwhelming percentage of their diet is buffalo, and this is what young male lions like to do. They will just follow herds of buffalo and hope for the best, but they have to be very careful. That is a serious proposition to take on.
Check how all those buffalo come over in numbers. No, no, thank you. They come over in en masse, those buffalo.
It's a classic mobbing behavior, chasing the predator away. But I think those lions we saw were not using cover at all. I think they genuinely probably just came down for a drink and stumbled across the lions. I don't think we saw, sorry, the buffalo. We didn't see any hunting behavior there.
No.
And yeah, I think discretion and better part of valor and all of that is very much in evidence here.
And they still had a drink. They obviously, I think you're right. I think they did. They just came. They just wanted a drink, and they sort of had their drink, and now they're making their way to a different spot. But no, you can often hear. I've been in a situation before, probably not dissimilar to this, and you can hear when there's something going on at a waterhole. You hear the grunts and the hooves, and it's obviously been decided that okay, we're off now. Lions or not lions, because look, there's some very tiny babies in those. I hate it when the camera comes back. You're peering at the screen like that. There's some tiny baby buffalo in there, buffalo calves. So they've all probably thought, no, right, rather give it a skip.
Yeah, no, it's a formidable thing. I mean, I've done some walking up in the Makaleki area of Kruger where there's a lot of herds of buffalo, and I remember one where we stumbled into them. We knew were there. We were doing an approach on this herd of buffalo, and the wind changed, and they all saw us, and they did. They all just sort of formed this wall in front of us and
Mm,
slowly started approaching us. And it was just like, well, there's a little tree over there. There's 300 buffalo over there. This isn't going to end well for us. But buffalo generally, to people at least, are quite just curious. They'll come and have a look, and they're a lot more
mm,
relaxed in a group than they are those individuals. But of course, the classic example of all of this is the Battle of Kruger video that everybody still talks about. It must be 10 years old now, if not more. If you guys haven't seen it, it's well worth a look just from a to see this behavior, this mobbing behavior in action, where lions take a baby buffalo and they wrestle with it for a while, and then then a crocodile grabs it, and whilst all this is going on, the rest of the buffalo have regrouped, and then they chase off the lions and rescue the youngster, who
mm.
miraculously seems to be okay, get great powers of recovery. So it's classic mobbing behavior you see in buffalo. We see it in baboons as well. Baboons chasing leopards
Mm.
and things away as a group. So really cool thing to see, especially if you're a guest in that lodge. What an amazing thing to see out the window.
No, for sure. I see Cara is also blacksmith lapwing. Cara, you're on the ball today with your birding. I heard it, but well picked. That's a good spot there. That blacksmith lapwing was definitely alarming. But no, it's lovely to
Yeah, I
see those
didn't
big
hear.
herds of buffalo.
Yeah, I didn't hear any distress from the buff. So I do think that it was two young males that had been ousted from somewhere.
Mm,
They were probably in the vicinity, hoping for an easy meal. But yeah, I think they just came down for a drink. A hunting lion is not just going to walk out in the open like that if he's
mm,
trying to take out uh, a buffalo in a situation like that. Often, what lions will do is they'll come in and they'll try and scatter the herd and look for any weak or separated
mm.
individuals. But those two young males, I don't think quite have the nous to know exactly what they're doing to be that structured just yet.
Like two 15-year-old boys. They've nearly got the size, but haven't got a clue what they're doing with themselves yet.
Maybe. Well, we wish them luck. But what a cool experience there to be able
Absolutely.
to stay at a lodge and have that and be able to see that
Mm.
from, say, out of your window. Or I mean, I've seen kills happen in front of lodges while standing there with guests, lions taking out zebras and things. I mean, it's just like, wow, this is, real Africa. Unbelievable stuff. Right. Well, I think unfortunately, believe it or not, I've just checked the time and we are almost out of time. So this half an hour goes so quickly. But thanks
Mm.
for everybody for joining us, or to everybody for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed some of these great clips that we've had. Always amazing to see new and interesting stuff that you don't get to see with your own eyes personally. And we always value your questions and your comments, and please do keep them coming through. So, Kelly, thank you very much for being my co-host here, and everybody, we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Cheers all. Bye bye.